What's up, folks, and welcome to Retro Ramble. So I got another title for you guys today from 8-Bit Legit. I've covered a couple of games released by this new publisher before, and if you want to check those out, there should be stuff popping up in the corner there that you can look at to go to those. But essentially what this is 8-Bit Legit is a publisher formed by a partnership of two developers who make very retro-focused titles, and they release games that actually were created and released for older systems, but that are getting modern ports as well. So this game is actually on an NES cartridge. It's out there, you can stick it in an NES and it'll work, but we're playing the Xbox One version today. This is also on PC and the Switch, and I'm not sure if it's on PlayStation or not, but I'll let you know about that. So yeah, this is Full Quiet, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is a game for the hardcore in multiple ways, and I'll show you why. But this is quite possibly one of the most ambitious NES games ever created, and it's something that we never would have seen back in the day, and it employs a lot of modern gaming tropes in a really fascinating way. And I'm not sure if this is a game I have the stones to finish, but there is a subset of you out there who are going to love this. So, first things first, I'm going to talk about it really quick. This is an 8-Bit Legit game, so the options in terms of what you can do with this emulation layer are kind of pathetically limited. That's been the case for a long time. There is a nice manual in here that you can look through. I believe a paper version of this was included for people who bought the physical NES version. That's nice, and there's some tips and tricks in this which you're definitely going to need. And there's options to change the screen border. That's it. You can't do anything else. There's no... Now, this game does have saving in it, like saving your actual game. You can only save at certain points, and that's by design. But there are no save states, there's no rewind, there's no any of that other stuff in here. Yes, I admit that would kind of take away from the core experience of the game, but nonetheless, they still got to do better on that front. But we've talked about that in my other videos. So I'm going to start a new game here really quick just to show you a little bit about what this is about. And then I do have a save that's not very far in. I got the gist of what this game was going for fairly early on, and I didn't want... The game is tough enough that I didn't want to spend... I didn't just want to use a walkthrough to sort of blast my way through it. And I also, though, didn't want to spend so long getting to a decent point in it that this video would take forever to come out, because I think this is something that it's important to get a video out on sooner rather than later. But you will get a lot of the core ideas from what I'm going to show you here. So, the idea behind this is basically that we seem to be in some kind of post-apocalyptic world. It feels almost Walking Dead-ish, except it's sort of demons rather than zombies. But it seems to be in this place where humanity is largely, or at least this subset of humanity, is living in the forest, and something happens to your son, and you have to try to find him. And what this is about is... The human race keeps in contact via old-style radio transmissions, so Morse code and radio towers. And the network is down, effectively. You got to be the technician to... You got to be a technician to basically go out and fix the cell towers, is what I'm saying. You know, kind of. So, but what's interesting about this game is that it's a Metroidvania, kind of. It's a pseudo-open world, kind of. And it's a full-on survival game. Survival games were not a thing back in the NES era. That was just not a thing, that was not a genre. Really, survival games, the way you're probably thinking of them as a viewer, are a relatively new thing in the pantheon of gaming. They haven't been, it hasn't been around a long time. And this developer decided to try to make a survival-style game on the NES, and they did it. And it's frankly amazing. The game has a full world map, so this is just the start, so there's not much here. Full inventory system with tons of different equipment and weapons and items. This is the actual world map. It's very large. There's a lot of different areas. There's a lot of hidden secrets and things like that. It's got an interesting gunplay system in it. It has a day-night cycle, which is actually very important. I'm going to tell you that right now. The day-night cycle is very important. This game kind of plays a little... It's one of those games where y'all don't want to be out at night if you can avoid it. but there's a lot of creatures, there's a lot of risk involved, it's a lot of risk reward because things are time-based. Now, you don't have a deadline to actually complete the game. This isn't one of those types of games. But you do have to concern yourself with, whoops, you little bugger. You do have to concern yourself with day-night cycles and the danger of different things, you know, that can come out at night and hurt you. So you have to deal with combat. There is platforming in this as well, including sort of platform hooking and swing jumps and stuff, which I got to admit it can be a little fun to pull off in some cases, but also when I'm playing this through my capture setup, I have a decent amount more lag involved, so don't necessarily take that as a strike against the game. Some of it is just my capture gear being, you know, introducing some latency. So, and like a Metroidvania, this area right here is one of them. This is a place you don't have to go, but if you do, you can get some upgrades out of it. And the damage that I took from falling in that other area there was actually by design. You're supposed to be able to do that to learn how the energy tanks work to heal yourself up. So there's a number of different cabins in the world, and by finding those and unlocking them, that is how you will that's how you can save. So that's the thing. Like I said earlier, this game does have save points in it. Actual, like, battery style saves where you save the game, and if you exit and come back, you can go back there. That's very good because the other 8-bit legit games relied on passwords, even on modern systems. But you can only save in these cabins, and until you find them all, can be very harrowing. And especially if you get caught out at night. And this is where the game can get sort of that hardcore level of survival, because if you don't... There we go. Because if you don't get to the cabin in time and you get killed, or something else happens and you get killed, you go back to your last save. And with the way this game progresses, that can sometimes be a while. You can lose a lot of progress in this. So here's the first cabin here. So we've made it here. Now you cannot go in here out of the gate, nor any of the cabins you find, because they need power. And there's a whole separate thing you have to do in each area. You have to find where the power source is, and then you have to activate it before you can get into the cabin. Now, I'm going to stop this section here, and we're going to go back to sort of my main game, if you will, where I have things saved. Now, I am only saved at this cabin. So this is the first cabin, and I've opened it up. And when you get into the cabin, you're going to see there's radios here. And what you have to do is you got to tune the radios until... Oh yeah, that's right. This randomizes every time. So it's not where it was the last time. Basically, you have to tune the radio until you hear a Morse code frequency. And then in the given area that you are in, there is a panel where you have to tune in that frequency. Actually, you know why I'm not hearing this? I know why I'm not hearing this, because I already did this. So you'll hear a Morse code frequency, and you basically have to go and tune the frequency to activate the nearby radio tower. And you have to do this for multiple different towers within the area. So actually, I believe, as you can see as well, there's combat in this. I don't know about the other guns, but the starting gun has unlimited ammo. But there's actually a reload system in this, which is kind of cool. Now, the interesting thing I'm going to tell you about this game, at least this version of it, is there's more than 2 buttons in use here. The NES didn't have more than 2 buttons. The NES had... Oh, thanks, random energy tank that fell out of the sky. That's neat. Didn't do that before. The NES only had 2 buttons. This thing has more than that. So I'm using all 4 face buttons on my Xbox controller. I can jump, you can roll, which is very handy. You're going to need that a lot. You can shoot, and you can reload. So I don't know how this worked on the NES, but it obviously did, because that's where this game first came out. Oh, you little buggers. So that's where this game first came out. But I'm guessing you had to use like combinations with the D-pad or something like that in order to make this work on the NES. So you have, you know, they make it a little easier for you on the modern systems, for sure. So, You'll see there that there was some environmental hazards I dealt with as well. There are enemies that you can shoot in this, and there are enemies like these sort of swarms of bees that you cannot deal with, so you have to try to figure out your way through them. You can use your roll to give yourself a little bit of iframeage to get through some of this stuff, and you're going to have to use that a lot in order to sort of test things out. So this is the second area in the game. Now, I have not managed to unlock the cabin in here yet. You can also, if you see here, you hold down the D-pad in a particular direction, you can sort of pre-scroll ahead. And you are absolutely going to need to do that because the enemies are frequent in this. None of them as an individual at this point are particularly hard to take out, though I'm sure they get harder later. But you will sometimes see them come at you in quantity. And you've got to really be prepared for that, you know, to jump on that stuff and to deal with groups. So that's a consideration as well, though you do get other weapons and, you know, you will get more powerful later as you go on, but everything in this game you have to scrounge for and you have to find. And this game does not hand you anything. You know, I was actually given a reviewer's guide for this, basically because they said, yeah, we know not all of you have time to get really long, you know, to get a really long way in this, and we want you to be able to cover some stuff. But they only gave me enough to get to the first cabin. And then after that, they were like, all right, you're on your own. And I was like, okay. And I tried multiple times to get to this second cabin and get it activated, and I failed multiple times. And that's one of the reasons I'm making the video now, because I didn't want to spend forever trying to get further in so that I could show you more of it. I didn't want to wait until coverage of this game would be too stale, right? So... And I think this is a first impression series generally, and I definitely get the idea of what this is about here. Now, one of the things I'm going to say is that can be a little bit of a strike against the game is it's not always clear where you can go and where you can't. So you see there's sort of these very craggy rocks areas here, hence it's called the crags. Now, when you look at this area right here, you may look at this and go, oh yeah, well that looks like a solid wall, I can't go through there. Well, you actually can, but not really. So you see, I jumped over that rock and I fell and I hurt the heck out of myself. But also at the same time, you see, I can kind of stand, even though this just looks like an empty pit, I can kind of stand here. Sometimes there is definitely confusion in the game's visual language, where there are places where it doesn't look like you can go or stand where you can, and other places where you think you can go that you can't. And you're going to have to learn that by trial and error. Now, some of that is in the spirit of the way this game is designed, but at the same time, you're probably going to find yourself a little bit frustrated sometimes, going like, well, what the hell? I friggin', you know, that didn't look like a giant pit. Come on, man. I definitely had that moment a couple of times playing this. So, but, you know, you put a little bit of time into it, you're going to figure that stuff out. But I understand that in a game that's as punishing as this one in terms of saves, that could be a problem for some people. So this is one of those other terminals where you have to unlock things using the Morse code system. You have to get the Morse code for this area, which I do not have yet. And then you can go through there. And you see there's different kinds of enemies over here. Those little towers that pop up are very interesting because you have to shoot them in order to weaken them. But when you do shoot them, flying enemies start spawning off of them. And it's very much like a lot of traditional survival games. This is very much a game about exploration and discovery. You know, that's honestly what's cool about it. So you see, here's the area, and it puts flags where points of interest are. And that is what's interesting about this. That's what a lot of people are going to like about this game. And it's also... So here's the second cabin, but as you can see, no juice. So it's a game about exploration, discovery, and, you know, figuring things out as you go. And learning how the game systems work, learning how the time of day works. You can tell what the time of day is here by going into the map. As you can see, time ticks by fairly quick. This isn't real time. So yeah, here's one of these things. So you see, to get past this big tower thing, you have to shoot it down enough that you can get over it. But when you do that, it spawns enemies out of it. And these enemies can hurt you, And you can shoot them, but it's not the easiest thing, and the tower will spawn them infinitely. Now, when you have a better gun, this is probably much easier. But, you know, you could also just brute force your way through it, or you can step on it wrong like I just did, and you did. And that's the thing. You're going to have to discover things. The game is going to... It's punishing. The game is going to kick your ass a lot. You know, and it's going to be like, smack, what did you learn? But that's what a lot of the people who are really into this genre want out of it. You know, I've seen some really negative user reviews of this, and really what it boils down to is they go, it's too frustrating to play, it's too rudimentary, you know, you're trying to make a survival game on a system that was never really made for it, and blah, 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 blah. And basically people crapping on its ambition because it doesn't, you know, the interface and the way you interact with the world is not as potentially streamlined as a modern survival game, though I would say most modern hardcore survival games are anything but streamlined. But it's the ambition of this title that I am so impressed by with it. It's the fact that these devs went, hey, you know what would be cool? One of these kinds of things on a system from the mid-'80s. This was never even thought of as possible back then. It's not just that this genre didn't really exist yet, but the amount of you kind of have to understand a bit more about retro gaming and the hardware that makes it up to really understand how crazy a setup this is. That the stuff this game is doing it's truly what would be considered a AAA grade for the NES back in the day. The amount of things they have going on in this game and the coding magic that would have been required back in the 80s. This is something probably only some of the most talented designers back then could have done. And this is a game that, because of its design and the fact that it's not super accessible, is not something that most publishers back then probably ever would have greenlit anyway. I don't think this would have gotten made even if someone had the talent and capability to pull it off. And it's the ambition of this and the fact that they did make it work. Yes, it's on an NES, and you know, you're not going to get full UI capability, and you're going to have limited controls and everything else that the NES offers. But that's what I love about these types of modern retro games in general, because they are literally modern retro games. They're games that are being made in the modern era on retro hardware, forcing themselves to utilize the limitations of the platforms of the day. You know, you can't do... It's not like a modern retro-inspired game where, yeah, it may look like something that could have been on the NES, but the dev's working with modern technology and a modern engine, and, oh, I want this mechanic in here, but I can't make it work with the NES. We'll just cheat that a little bit, you know, we'll put that in there. Or we'll make the graphics look a little bit better than the NES could be, or it'll sound a little bit better than the NES was, you know. You can't do that with this type of thing. What you got in an NES is what you have. And other than adding in more button capabilities for modern controllers, this was all done within those crazy limitations, and I think that is really, really impressive. The main reason I'm not sure I'll finish this is not because I think this game is bad. I don't. I think it's frankly incredible, but I'm just not a big survival game guy. It's a genre that's never really clicked with me, but what they have managed to accomplish here is truly amazing. This is a game that will take you a good while to finish. And there we go. This is a game that will take you a good while to finish. It will require a lot of exploration, a lot of failure, and a lot of frustration. But you know what? In this era of survival games and games like the Souls series, you know, Dark Souls, etc., this is one of the best times to make a game like this now, I think, because more and more people are into this. A lot of people are getting tired of how a lot of modern mainstream releases have become too dumbed down and are too simple and are, you know, don't offer much challenge or really much reward either. This offers both of those things to those who are willing to put in the effort. And yeah, this is not going to be for everybody. I can tell you right now that this is not for everybody. It might not really be for me, but I admire any dev who is willing to say, we're not making a game for everybody. We're making a game that we want to play and for the people who want to play games like this. And they went even, the Retrotainment went even crazier and went, yeah, we're going to make it for, you know, we're going to make it for an even smaller niche of people who want to play new NES games. Like, what? I can't help but applaud that crazy level of ambition and drive. And they found a way to make it work. And I think that is really impressive. I will say as well, if you do get this on the Xbox, if you're one of those people who likes really, really easy achievements, the achievements in this game, you can get all 1,000 points in about 15 minutes, if you want. I don't like this trend lately of a lot of games that have come out that are just literally terrible games that are designed to be easy achievement farms, and that's how they're making their money, because there is a niche of people out there who like achievement points so much that they will pay $5 for a game that's basically crap just so they can get an easy couple of 1,000 points. That's not what they did here. The easy achievement points, I think, in this were more of a vector to get people interested in trying the game out. You know, oh, you're one of those people who likes easy achievements? Okay, well, pick this up, get your easy 1000G, but hey, this game's also kind of cool, and you might want to stick with it after you've gotten that 1000G. And if not, well, hey, they got your money. You know? If you're someone for whom that is really important to you, then they got your money. And, you know, good on them. I respect the hustle, you know? So here we go. So we're going to arrow this down so I can get over it. And there we go. It's taken out now. But of course, this is an NES game, so when you get off the screen, those things are going to come back. And as you can see, the day is evolving. So now we're into sunset. Like I said, this game's got a full day-night cycle. Speaking of things you never saw on an NES, especially not in a meaningful way that changes gameplay, right? So, and you can see here you're walking by these caves with weird doors on them. You don't know what they are. You got to figure all that stuff out on your own. So it's going to reward exploration and patience and determination, but it's going to require a lot of all of those. And if you're someone for whom you don't game that way, you know, you don't game to be stressed out, you don't game to be, you know, you don't game for this level of challenge, I get that. I'm not always one of those types of people, but I often am. And I don't know if I have it in me to get through all of this. But, ooh, I haven't seen that before. Oh, it's a scope. Oh, what is this? Okay, we're learning something new here. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to use it either, but... Yeah, I'm not sure how to actually use it. It says it's equipped, but okay. So you see here, we're in another area now. We're going through this sort of, I don't know if this is swamp or it looks more like grass to me, but you can see the enemies are getting tougher here. I probably wandered into a neighborhood I shouldn't be in. But, you know, you can do that in this. And that's the thing that people like about games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's a game that just drops you in a world. And there is some gating in this. But by and large, it's like, yeah, here's the world. You go have fun. Go figure it out. And then, yes, there's puzzles in this sometimes, too. These puzzles are actually fairly simple. They're these sort of, you know, pipe dream style things. But you got to be careful with this. In fact, I'm pretty screwed here, I reckon, because you have to do these very quick because you're on a timer there that you can see at the top. And, well, if the timer runs out and you can't get this done, you actually take damage. And yeah, I have totally boned this. And because I'm not healed up very well, I may have just died. Yep, sure did. Yeah, see? But that was my own fault because I didn't heal up. So you'll have puzzles like that you're going to have to deal with, and they can be very punishing. And that's what this game is. It's an oppressive world, and it wants you to feel that way. And honestly, it really excels at that. But that right there means that this is not a game for everybody. But it wasn't made to be. And I just... incredibly respect the ambition in this title. What they went for here is astonishing. What they've pulled off is astonishing. That you can make a full open world in an NES is... Not too many people could pull this off, and virtually no one, I would say, could have done it back when this system was new. So I think this is a fascinating thing. I think if you're into survival games, you might want to give this a try. If you're into retro games that just do something really, really different and really are pushing the envelope in a number of different ways, then I think this will absolutely work for you as well. But if you don't like punishing games, even by NES standards, and you don't want stuff that's going to demand a lot of you, but also potentially reward a lot, then I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Like I said, I respect the hell out of this game. Is it a game for me? I don't necessarily know if it is, but I can still recognize that it is an incredible achievement for that. So... yeah, that's Full Quiet. It is out now. If you think that you fit within the mold of gamer that this game is catering to, definitely grab it on your system of choice. You know, getting it on an NES is going to cost you more, but definitely get it on your system of choice. I think you'll find something to be into here. If not, I mean, the game is not very expensive, and on Xbox it is an easy 1,000 gamer score, so you might want to pick it up and take a crack at it. You might find it interesting, and it is on PC as well, so you do have that Steam 2-hour refund policy if you're not sure about it. But I think this is really interesting and a truly remarkable achievement, and my hat's off to them for pulling that off at least. So thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Those really do help the channel out a great deal. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, does this game interest you? You know, are there other types of modern genres you'd like to see get this kind of retro treatment like this has? You know, do you think, you know, a really difficult, challenging game like this might be up your alley for the price tag or not? I'd love to know about that. And as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indie games as well as true retro stuff over there, including a bunch of things better suited to streaming than YouTube. We have a fantastic community there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.